All right, time to begin. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Leland Shermer, and I am the current chair of the Law School Alumni Association's Distinguished Alumni Awards Committee. I want to welcome everybody to today's event. I want to thank everybody for coming. Let's start with our dignitaries. I have a list, and I don't know whether they're all here, but we have to acknowledge Judge Cheryl Allen, Judge Mary Jane Bowes, Judge Kim Eaton, Judge Mike Fisher, Judge Alan Hertzberg, Judge Phil Ignelzi, and Judge Christine Ward. Let's have a round of applause for all of our judges. I also want to thank all of you for coming, both to honor our awardees, but also to support the law school in its mission. Today, we take a pause from an otherwise very busy schedule that we all keep. And we use this pause to celebrate the law school's community. Today's honorees are proof of the law school's success in producing tremendous legal talent, individuals who are truly credits both to the legal profession and to the law school, who help give them the tools to get there. Our mission at the law school is a worthy endeavor. Society needs great judges and needs great lawyers, all of whom do understand, for the most part, and who respect and apply the importance of the rule of law. Sometimes that sounds trite, but our legal system is truly the foundation upon which our society's stability, prosperity, equity, and justice depend. Those are all very important things. And the law school is like a factory. It produces the foundation for that legal system, turning out graduate lawyers who understand the importance of the rule of law and the legal system, and who try their best to build upon and utilize it for all of the good that it offers. How do I know this? Look around the room at all of you and all of our guests. The amount of brilliance sitting in this room and achievement among all who are here remind me of President Kennedy's famous line, and I'll adapt it to the law school. I think this is the most extraordinary collection of legal talent, of human knowledge, that has ever been gathered in this courtroom, with the possible exception of when Dean John E. Murray Jr. dined here alone. What a treat it is to honor our fellow alumni who've made us all proud. I think it's accurate to say that this law school's prototypical student over the decades has been a kid of ordinary means, but with extraordinary drive. That drive when combined with the knowledge imparted by our law school professors and administrators through all of their hard work, has allowed tonight's honorees to each reach the pinnacle of their field. In doing so, our honorees have earned our respect and admiration, and those of the entire law school community, in particular our professors and administrators, who every day work tirelessly to train and launch great young lawyers. I'm not sure who should be more proud of our honorees today, the faculty and administration or the other alumni. Who cares? We're all proud of them. I had the privilege of being on this committee last year when it was chaired by Judge Ignelzi, and I was actually struck by how passionate and enthusiastic he was about manning this process and going through literally thousands of alumni trying to select those who best exemplified our traditions and our aspirations. And when Judge Ignelzi handed me the reins this year, I wasn't sure whether I would find this taxing or exhilarating. I'm happy to report exhilarating won out. Our honorees tonight are so impressive that I have literally found myself reading and rereading each of their biographies maybe 5 or 6 times. Each time I do, I smile with the pride of knowing that we, the entire legal community, helped launch and produce these great people. Thank you to all of the faculty and administration who have helped out. I want to just do a quick naming of our honorees so that we can get on with the show. We have Vincent Bartolotta, who is here from San Diego. Vince, you want to raise your hand? I kid you not. If you want to drop your jaw, you read this man's bio. He has literally done everything there is to do in life. It's amazing. Judge Mary Jane Bowes, who I consider one of the hardest workers for this law school. I have never seen anybody spend more time and be more serious and more committed to trying to make this a great experience than Judge Bowes. Dan Brockett from New York City, my classmate, who is here tonight, along with his wife, Linda. We have Judge Christine Ward, who is the inaugural winner of the Judge R. Stanton Weddick Jr. Public Service Award, and also my classmate. And the Young Lawyers Distinguished Award is going to Marlene Van Nelson. And finally, I have to say that one of the 3 best legal experiences I've ever had was when I was a young lawyer and Jim Smith from the Bar Association had an annual trip to the United States Supreme Court. He apparently was personal friends with Justice Bill Brennan. And every year, if you wanted to get sworn in at the US Supreme Court, Jim Smith would take a group of us down. We'd have a whole weekend of it. It was wonderful. When I saw some recent pictures of Judge Fisher doing essentially a similar thing with our students, I just thought these students are too young to realize at this age how important that trip will be at my age. But it really is something that I personally want to thank you for, Judge Fisher. So with that lineup, I want to introduce our beloved Dean, the man who's everywhere all at once, Dean Jerry Dickinson.
Thank you, Leland. Thank you. Great, thank you, Leland, and welcome everyone. Welcome back to the University of Pittsburgh School of Law. It's wonderful to see so many familiar faces and new friends gathered here today in Teplett's courtroom. I see some faces that I just saw this time yesterday. For the first time, a new tradition that we started here at the University of Pittsburgh. We invited back all the recent graduates who passed the bar exam, and we asked Chief Justice Deborah Todd to come to the law school and to do a swearing-in ceremony here at the law school. And it's the first time we've done it. It won't be the last, and it was an incredible experience. And here we are the next evening with distinguished alumni here today. So this is a fantastic opportunity for us to come together. This event, you know, it is really always a highlight of the year. for Pitt Law because it allows us to pause, to reflect, of course, and to celebrate the remarkable impact of so many alumni and how they continue to make an impact on the legal profession, in public service, and throughout our communities. Now, I was asked to give a little bit of an update on the law school, and I'm happy to do so. Pitt Law right now, many of you may feel the energy that's going around, but Pitt Law is on the rise. Pitt Law is in a remarkable moment of successes. And I've been in this position for less than a year, and having been appointed in January of this year, and I've often said this, that that one of the great privileges of this role is witnessing the extraordinary strength of our alumni community. Like several of our predecessors and my predecessors, Dean Edsell, John Murray, Mark Nordenberg, Chip Carter, and many, many more. I was a faculty member here for several years and then rose up to be the dean, like many of those before me. And I've seen firsthand that Pitt Law's greatness and its strength lies not only in what happens in the classroom, but in what our graduates go on to accomplish once they leave it. And that tradition of excellence continues to propel us forward year after year after year. Let me give you a few data points on just how far Pitt Law is going right now. It is extraordinary. Many of you may have heard our applications are up by 60, 70% right now, skyrocketing. Students are banging on the door, trying to get into Pitt Law. Our employment rate exceeds 90% each year when at graduation, 90% time of graduation. And upon our celebration yesterday with Chief Justice Todd, for the first time in 30 years, Pitt Law was #1 in the state of Pennsylvania for overall bar passage at 92%. And I see some of the staff and administration and faculty here who helped us through that process, but an extraordinary showing. That's the highest bar passage rate for Pitt Law and in Pitt Law's history. And as I said, first time in I think 30 years that we were first in the state of Pennsylvania. So extraordinary. The U.S. News and World Ranking, we jumped from 91 to 79, and we're expected to jump from 79 into the 60s this year. So the world and the nation, they're seeing that Pitt Law is on the rise. They're recognizing our alumni and all the great things that they do. They're recognizing the students, the faculty, and the staff, and how great we truly are. And as many of you know, we have a goal by 2028 of being a top 50 law school, where we should be, and where we know we should be and can be. And we were most recently named one of the top 25 best value law schools by the National Jurist magazine. And then lastly, we raised $8 million this past year, a record for the Pitt Law. And that's in large part due to the momentum, the support, and the commitment that we have from so many people in this room and so many of our alumni. And that brings us to why we're here tonight. With all these successes that are happening today and right now, the individuals we honor this evening embody the very best of Pitt Law. Your work, their work, demonstrates that a legal education from a top-notch institution like Pitt Law is not just about mastering doctrine, it's about leadership, it's about service, and it's about integrity in action. And tonight, we celebrate 6 remarkable members of this community, including our 3 distinguished alumni awardees. Of course, the Judge R. Stanton Weddick Public Service Award, the Young Alumni Award, and also the Honorary Alumni Award as well. Judge Fisher, I know that you're a Georgetown grad, but you tell them you're ours. Each of them has distinguished themselves through their intellect, their service, their unwavering commitment to justice, and each continues to elevate Pitt Law's reputation across the nation. I also want to extend my gratitude to the University of Pittsburgh School of Law Alumni Association, our homecoming sponsors as well, and to all of those who have helped sustain our mission through mentorship, philanthropy, and partnership. Together, you are helping us to ensure that Pitt Law remains not only a leader in legal education, but a force for good in this world. With that being said, it is now my privilege to introduce to you Tony Thompson, President of the Pitt Law Alumni Association, UPLA, who will begin tonight's ceremony and formal presentation. So, Tony, come on up. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dean Dickinson, for the warm introduction. Good evening, esteemed guests, fellow governors, alumni, and friends. On behalf of the Board of Governors of the University of Pittsburgh Law Alumni Association, I welcome you all to this evening's awards ceremony. Since 1973, the University of Pittsburgh Law Alumni Association's Distinguished Alumni Award has honored graduates who, through excellence in their careers and contributions to the profession and community, have enhanced the reputation of Pitt Law. The Distinguished Alumni Award recognizes individuals whose lives exemplify the very best of what Pitt Law stands for: integrity, service, and leadership. Past honorees include some of the finest examples of our profession, such as the Honorable Joseph F. Wives Jr., David B. Fawcett, Yolanda Barco, Dr. Derek Bell Jr., Justice Deborah Todd, and Laura Ellsworth, among others. Each has left an enduring mark on the legal landscape, and tonight we add three remarkable names to that legacy. It is my privilege to introduce Vincent J. Bartolotto, Jr., class of 1970, a Marine, a trial lawyer of national distinction, and a steadfast champion for justice and community. Vince is the founding partner of Thorness Bartolotto McGuire, one of California's premier litigation firms. Over his career, he has achieved extraordinary success in major injury, business, and condemnation cases, including some of the largest verdicts in San Diego history. He also appeared before the government's 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund in New York City and provided pro bono representation to the families of 3 victims of that tragedy and also an injured fireman. His peers have recognized him time and again as California Trial Lawyer of the Year, Trial Lawyer Hall of Fame inductee, and a recipient of the Daniel T. Broderick Award for Civility, Integrity, and Professionalism, among others. Beyond the courtroom, Vince has lived a life of service. As a Marine Corps officer in Vietnam, as chairman of St. Vincent de Paul Village, and as past president of the San Diego Nice Guys, who fittingly named him their 2025 Nice Guy of the Year for his compassion and generosity toward those in need. Vince's journey from the son of a Pennsylvania coal miner to one of the nation's most respected trial lawyers is a testament to hard work, honor, and heart. Please join me in congratulating and welcoming Vincent J. Bartolotto Jr. as one of this year's Distinguished Alumni Award recipients. Vince.
I'll be short, I think.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
Okay. We have a lot of awardees, and I'm very humbled by this recognition and this honor. I'll just share with you something Leland asked me earlier. There's a plaque in the hallway out there that, with my name on it, that I won the Gorley Moot Court competition when I was in law school here. There's a story behind that, and he asked me if I would share that with you and whether or not that had any significance in my life. And it did, for this reason. When I was here, my 3rd year of law school, I was already in the Marine Corps, and I was headed to Vietnam, so I couldn't get a job anywhere because I had a 27-second life expectancy. So the Dean Sell, if you remember, he wanted to get out of the Gorley competition that we were doing year after year. So we did not that year have our in-house Gorley competition, but Duquesne did. And so they had a winner of their competition. All of a sudden, Judge Gorley comes out of retirement from Florida and comes back here for his competition. Well, Dean Sell's panicked now because he has to get somebody to go do this competition. So he goes to Bill Lerack, who was in my class, and Lerack was either number 1 or 2 in the class at that time. And Lerack says, "No way, Judge, I got a job with Reed Smith downtown. I'm not, I don't have the time, I can't do it." He says, "But let me check. I think Bartolotto will do it. He doesn't have a job." And so Lerack calls me up and he says, "Hey," he says, "you want to make $300? Yeah, what do I have to do?" He says, "Just read a script." Okay, I'll read a script. So I Said, okay, I was president of the class. He was like number one in the class. And so anyway, I do it. Well, it turns out not to read a script. It was an actual trial where all the witnesses were on air, KDK, TV, radio personalities, celebrities. And so I'm thrown in there as a defense lawyer. We didn't have any moot court. I had no clue when I finished law school. I was on a full scholarship for soccer. I made the Olympics. When everyone went to the library, I went to the field house to train for the Olympics. So I didn't know what kind of lawyer I wanted to be. I didn't know anything about it other than I was going to get a law degree. So I go show up for this tournament. I was on the defense side for it. Long story short, I win the whole thing, okay? We're in Gorley's chambers after it's over. And he's going around to the Duquesne guys, you know, where are you going, where are you working, where are you? And he gets to me and I said, well, sir, I don't have a job. I said, I'm going to Vietnam. And I said, no one's going to hire me. And he says, son, I want to tell you something. He said, in the 40 years I've been practicing law and on the bench here, he says, I have never heard a finer closing argument in my life, in my whole career. He says, but you are not a defense lawyer. Okay? And so he asked me if I had a job. I told him no, what was happening. And he said, sit down, son. So I'm sitting there. And he picks up the phone and he calls McCardle, McLaughlin, Paletta, and McVeigh, if you remember that firm. And he gets Jimmy McLaughlin on the phone. And he says, Jimmy, I got a man here you need. I'm sending him over to you right now. So I leave the chambers. I go right to McCardle, McLaughlin, Paletta, and McVeigh for the next 3 or 4 months before I go on active duty, back on active duty. I work with McCardle, McLaughlin, Paletta, and McVeigh. And that's how I became a trial lawyer. To this day, my law firm is patterned after McCardle, McLaughlin, Paletta, McVeigh. All we do is plaintiff civil litigation. It's all we do. And I can share this with you and then I'll sit down. There isn't a lawyer or judge or anybody in San Diego or Southern California that doesn't know I am a Pitt graduate and I am proud and from Pittsburgh. I'll give you one very quick example of this. I'm trying a lawsuit and I'm talking the whole lawsuit about this guy's broken neck, broken neck, broken neck. Finally, in closing argument, defense jumps up, says, Your Honor, that's it. I have had it. I have looked at every medical record. I have looked at every MRI and every x-ray. There's not one scintilla of evidence of any kind that this man has a fracture in his neck. And just as he's at the peak of his fit, I get up and say, excuse me, Your Honor, I'm from Pittsburgh. As you know, I'm from Pittsburgh. Some don't work right. It's broken. My guy's neck's broken. The judge went into a laughing jag, could not stop for like 2 minutes. So every time he sees me on the street now, he says, that's the funniest thing I ever heard. He says, way to go, Pittsburgh. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'm John Gismondi, and I have the pleasure presenting our next awardee, Judge Mary Jane Bowes. I'll try to do her justice within the parameters of the time allotted to each of us, which is very, very short. In preparation for today, and you always have to do some preparation, I looked up what is distinguished. The definition: to excel in one's chosen field, to attain great success while observing high standards. Well, it seems to me that certainly one fits that definition who spent 24 years on the Superior Court crafting a legacy of having no agenda other than to fairly adjudicate cases and having no favor, loyalty, or service to anything other than the rule of law, as Leland referenced. Think about it. What more could you ask of a judge? Read the law, understand the law, apply the law. That is the epitome of distinction and high attainment. Distinguish also, in my mind, means giving back to the institution that you call your alma mater. And again, as Leland referenced, it's vital to the prosperity, the continuity, and the vibrance of the school. I would be hard-pressed to come up with the name of any graduate that I know of in the last 15 or 20 years who has spent more time spreading the gospel of Pitt Law than Judge Mary Jane Bowes. Rallying the troops, organizing events, showing up at events. The passion and energy that she has shown for the school was really remarkable and something to be mimicked by others. That is a measure of distinction. Finally, I ran across another definition of distinguished: to show dignity and class in one's style, appearance, and manner. By that metric, Judge Mary Jane Bowes epitomizes distinguished, because anybody who's ever been in her presence, regardless of the event or context, has certainly taken note of her style, her dignity, her manner, and her presence. I'm very, very pleased to present the next Distinguished Alumni Awardee, Judge Mary Jane Bowes.
Well, I can tell you that I've come a long way from my first day of law school when I went home and burst into tears. Like, I thought, I will never understand what these people are talking about. But I am truly honored to receive this award tonight, particularly in the presence of our other distinguished graduates and awardees. Congratulations to all of you. I am humbled to be counted among your number. I have now been involved with Pitt Law as a student and an alumnus for almost 50 years, and it has been a rich and rewarding experience. When I spoke with 1Ls a few years ago, I told them they would meet their best friends and lifelong colleagues at Pitt Law. And so here I stand today looking at John Gismondi, whom I met 50 years ago. Thank you, John, for your gracious remarks and for being my friend for 5 decades. It's a rare gift to be known by someone who has seen you grow. Although John hit the ground running while some of us were still crawling. But that is the beauty of Pitt Law. They are with you every step of the way. Right from the beginning, Pitt Law fanned my hope for a purpose rooted in justice and service. Excellent professors who were friends as well as instructors. Professors Fox, Hellman, who's here tonight, Frolick, who's here also, Dean Sell, Dean Murray, Bob Harper, and others. All were instrumental in my legal career and made me the lawyer and now the judge that I am today. After graduation, Pitt Law continued to be there for me with career opportunities mailed out monthly. Can you imagine? How quaint. It's like doing research in books. And my fellow Pitt graduates who've been my bosses, employees, mentors, and friends. I have been blessed to know alumni who never forget you, who give you job tips, answer legal questions, support you, commiserate with you, and accompany you on this journey in the law and in life. Over the years, through my work with the Alumni Association, I've continued to build long-lasting relationships with my more recent fellow graduates, most of whom have never done research out of a book. Staying involved with alumni affairs has allowed me to witness firsthand the continued strength of this community, and I can only imagine where our new dean will take us next. Pitt Law is a place that continues to grow, to evolve, and to inspire new generations of advocates. Yet at the same time, it remains the same, committed to empowering its graduates to achieve extraordinary accomplishments and dedicated to its proud tradition of excellence and integrity. The bond of Pitt Law is a timeless one, you see, never changing, never ending. Together, we seek to lead meaningful lives with and for others, to pursue truth, justice, and virtue, and to work to a more just world. Thank you for this high honor. Thank you to my family for your love. Thank you to my fellow alumni for this wonderful award and for your friendship and support. And thank you to Pitt Law for your unending commitment to your graduates, past, present, and future. Hail to Pitt.
I'm back to introduce one of our 3 distinguished alumni awardees for this year, my classmate, my friend, and a phenomenally successful lawyer, Dan Brockett, the chair of the Quinn Emanuel Financial Litigation Practice, is here from New York City. And Dan has had just a marvelous career. Judge Ward and I were classmates of Dan, and I think we could have predicted back then that we would be here tonight. Because although Dan was a humble guy from Cleveland, and we didn't hold that against him, he came to Pitt, he worked hard, he was always in the library, and that work ethic, even though it wasn't from Western Pennsylvania, has carried him quite a way. Let me read briefly the description of some of Dan's professional achievements. He's a Chambers rank lawyer who is consistently viewed as one of the best trial lawyers in the country. In 2018, he was ranked by Benchmark Litigation as one of the top 100 trial lawyers in America. He's been called an elite trial strategist by his peers and a very good lawyer who is always willing to roll the dice. He's been consistently ranked among the top litigators by multiple leading legal publications. Law 360, for example, recently recognized Dan as a competition MVP. And in 2016, the National Law Journal named him its litigation trailblazer. From 2020 to 2024, he has been named one of Law Dragon's 500 leading plaintiff financial lawyers. He's achieved national prominence primarily for his work in the area of securities, antitrust, commodities, and structured finance and derivatives litigation. Known as a cut-to-the-chase litigator with significant jury experience, Mr. Brockett has recovered billions, with a B, of dollars for major institutional clients in federal securities, antitrust, and other lawsuits against major Wall Street banks and other defendants. He's particularly known for his work in the plaintiff antitrust, securities, and commodities space, and was recently chosen by judges in the Southern District of New York as co-lead counsel in an array of precedent-setting cases. Dan Brockett, you have reached the peak of the legal profession, and we are so honored to recognize you tonight as one of our own. I'd like to welcome you up and give you your award as one of our distinguished alumni.
Well, thank you, Leland. I didn't prepare any remarks. I wasn't told that I was going to be expected to make any remarks, so I'll just be very brief and say, obviously I'm very honored to receive this award. Very honored to be in the presence of others who are also receiving awards. this is where it all started for me. I remember vividly my first moot court argument. I don't know if it was this podium or maybe a prior version of this podium, but I literally remember my leg was shaking as I was delivering my first moot court argument to a panel of Third Circuit judges, including Judge Aldisert and Judge Joe Weiss and a few other distinguished judges. Anyway, Pitt Law has taken me as far as I wanted to go in my legal profession, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Grateful for the education that I received here, and grateful for the preparation that I got here to succeed in my legal career. And so, thank you to the Alumni Association. And again, I'm very humbled and very honored to receive this award.
We're going to shift gears here and have a different award here. I've been asked to introduce the recipient of the Public Service Award, Christine Ward, and I am thrilled to do so. The University of Pittsburgh Law Alumni Association's Judge Stanton R. Weddick, Tony Weddick Jr. Public Service Award was established to honor a graduate's commitment through outstanding service to the public good through their work with public interest organizations, government agencies, and law firm pro bono projects. The award will be presented to alumni who have dedicated time and energy to the public welfare and to help improve the lives of less fortunate in society at large. In August of 1979, I was starting my second year at Pitt and was putting books in those lockers right back there. And my first year law school buddy, Jeffrey Ward, came up to me and yanked this young lady by the back of her sweatshirt and said, "This is my little sister, take care of her." Little did I know that little dynamo was destined to show me the way. Most of you would know Judge Ward's extensive background, partner at 3 law firms, appointed to the bench by Governor Rendell, and then elected to a term, serving both in juvenile court first for like a nanosecond, and then moving to civil division, where she eventually serves as the administrative judge for 7 years before her retirement. Suffice to say, Chris's resume and award list is longer than the CVS receipt, and I've only been allotted 2 minutes. So let me just highlight the accomplishments which gets her to this particular award. I know this award means so much to her because it bears the name of Judge Tony Weddick, who was a mentor of Chris's and good friend. Chris eventually took over his PA practice classes here at Pitt, and I want to point out that she did it for the love of Pitt Law School and donated her adjunct professor salary to the her law interns who helped her with it. I would like to highlight these and many of our accomplishments that make her so deserving of this award. When Chris became administrative judge in civil, she wanted to make a difference. As a former AJ myself, it is a difficult and demanding job to both run the division and also do what I think we were elected to do, serve the public. The first achievement, and for which he received the Allegheny Bar Judicial Service Award, was the development of the Landlord-Tenant Mediation Project, a public service program to help self-represented litigants and to also reduce the eviction docket in civil division. Although the work started long before that in getting together, it was critical as we hit COVID and evictions increased drastically. She accomplished 2 things: helping the public, helping them through that awful way to get through the court system, and also streamlining the civil process, which was her job as AJ. She also initiated a separate docket, often presiding on these cases herself, for name changes for transgender individuals, removing these cases from the general docket and providing a special day for these individuals, not only reducing their trauma, but I can tell you, I have watched these proceedings and they are as joyful as an adoption day in family court. And for this, she received the ACBA Pro Bono Achievement Award. Finally, and it's something that is near and dear to my heart, in her nanosecond she spent in juvenile court, she authored a landmark opinion, In Re SJ, which ruled that the trial court had the authority under the Juvenile Act to continue to exercise necessary case management, foster care maintenance, and limited financial service once a child reached the age of 18. In other words, through college, getting the kids through college. The Superior Court affirmed the decision, and it is now still law many years later. I'm about to begin my 27th year as a judge, and I can tell you there are basically two kinds of judges. Those that see our time as on the bench as an easy job to ride to retirement, and those who strive every day to be true to their oath of public service and spend every day trying to make this world a better place. Chris Ward is a shining example of that, and I'm proud to call her my friend.
She always makes me cry. It's nothing new. When Leland called me and said he was going to nominate me for the Public Service Award, I said, Lee, you know, I've gotten a lot of awards and I don't need another award. And I declined. He said, you know, this is the Tony Weddick Inaugural Public Service Award. It's like, oh yeah, Lee, I'll take it. Yeah. So let me just say a few things about Tony Weddick, who was a wonderful mentor to me. Here's a guy that started out at K&L Gates and could have had a hugely successful and lucrative career. But instead, he chose to go on the bench. And he worked his butt off. There was not a harder working judge than Tony Weddick for 40 years. When he retired, he actually was making no money. He was donating it because he could have had his pension. He was working for free. So not only was he a great judge who contributed so much, but he was served as executive director of Neighborhood Legal Services. He was on the board of Women's Center and Shelter. He taught at this law school for decades, Pennsylvania practice. And I can tell you that was no day at the beach because I took over that class when he gave it up. It was 3 mornings a week at 8 a.m. And let me tell you, PA practice is not that exciting. So to teach it to kids at 8 a.m. in the morning, yeah, he did it. He should be getting the Public Service Award. But Pitt Law School did a number of things for me. First of all, I would never be on the bench if it weren't for Pitt Law School. I grew up in Butler County. I went to college in Washington County. I knew nobody in Allegheny County. Pitt Law gave me a center in Allegheny County. It gave me a constituency from which I could run when I ran for judge. So again, if I hadn't gone to school here, I wouldn't be up here accepting this award right now. So one thing Tony Weddick did was he always hired his law clerks from Pitt Law School. So following in his footsteps, I hired my law clerks from Pitt Law School every other year. I'd get a new law clerk from Pitt Law School. That did a couple things for me. First of all, these kids could write, so it made me look like I could write. And second of all, they were always smarter than I was. So they made me look like I was bright and knew what I was doing. But the other thing that those young folks did for me, it's really easy to become jaded and cynical after years on the bench. And those young people would come in, they'd be so excited about everything. Occasionally they'd go down a rabbit hole, but they were really excited about the law, and it just made my job so much better. And it kept me grounded and kept me interested. And it was just fun seeing them grow and launching them into the legal community. That was great. So I loved every minute I spent on the bench. So to be getting an award for doing something that you loved every minute of every day is just a double bonus. So thank you all.
Good evening. My name is Catherine McClay, and it is my pleasure to introduce this year's Young Alumni Award honoree, Marlene Van Nelson, class of 2015. Marlene came to Pitt Law with the goal of entering public service, holding a degree in agricultural sciences and natural resources from Cornell University. Marlene envisioned herself working for an environmental nonprofit, or a policy office. But while at Pitt Law, Marlene observed that so many nonprofits and so many small businesses were challenged to engage traditional legal services, citing issues like unpredictable hourly costs and lack of knowledge regarding critical legal issues. She began to think about ways in which she could provide accessible legal services to those organizations in order to, as she has since said, help her clients do what they do best. From this observation grew Trellis Legal LLC. Marlene formed Trellis in January 2016, just months after she graduated from Pitt Law. Through Trellis, Marlene has advanced her mission of providing accessible legal services to those nonprofits and those small businesses here in Pittsburgh. Marlene has partnered with hundreds of businesses, farmers, and nonprofits across Pennsylvania to help them to establish their businesses, secure the contracts that they need to succeed, and to navigate issues unique to their individual needs. Her client successes are her successes, and in the 10 years since Trellis Legal's founding, there have been many. Marlene's orientation to service extends beyond her legal practice. In addition to a number of other community initiatives, Marlene is a proud member of the board of directors for Grow Pittsburgh, a local nonprofit dedicating to teaching those in the community to grow their own gardens and also to distributing food to the community through their urban farm sites. Marlene Van Nelson is an exceptional young lawyer and an asset to our community here in Pittsburgh. On behalf of the University of Pittsburgh Law Alumni Association, I'm proud to award her with this year's Young Alumni Award. You're also getting the award on. Yeah. Right. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for this honor. I found out I was selected for this award while on maternity leave, making this recognition even more meaningful. And because I was on leave, it gave me time and the opportunity to reflect during the next nap time and while doing laundry and 7 other million things, of course, but on the past 10 years of Trellis, as well as its future and where it's going. And 3 main things came to mind. First, the ability to carve my own path in the legal field and the support I received while walking that path. There is often pressure in law to work at a traditional firm or role, keep your head down, put in your dues. And that's true, the traditional role can fit many, but it isn't for everyone and can be hard to find, and it can be hard to find the right fit while still pursuing your desire to practice law. I'm especially grateful to Professor Dangle here at Pitt Law, who encouraged me to pursue opening Trellis and fostering entrepreneurship in the legal field, especially right out of law school when many people, including myself, thought I might be crazy. I am also grateful to the Pitt Big Idea Center, where through the Pitt Big Idea competition, I was able to learn more about running a business as well as innovative approaches to opening a law firm. And of course, I'm also always thankful to my amazing husband, family, and friends who have always been a constant source of support and encouragement. To any other law students or alumni, I want them to know that there are options. It's never too late. There's true joy in practicing law, as Judge Ward said. I hope I can implore you to always challenge yourself, to not give up on finding the path that's right for you, even if it is non-traditional, and you can still achieve success in this field. And I really thank Pitt Law for highlighting that here today with this award. The second thought that came to mind is the gift of being able to use my firm as a place for other young lawyers and professionals, especially women, to build their careers and find passion in the practice of law. I'm so grateful for my amazing team, Aaron and Ann, we're sitting over there, Savannah, Anna, and Courtney. Each of them brings such talent to the firm. Their passion makes Trellis what it is today and helps guide where it is going in the future. I could not do this without them. And I especially want to recognize Erin, a fellow Pitt Law alum, talented lawyer, mother, and entrepreneur herself, who helped me take this from a solo practice and has brought so much thought and innovation and actually helped me document processes, which she'll tell you I do poorly, and help really make this the firm that it is today. Additionally, women are so often forced to choose between work-life balance, being their whole self, and career success. We hope that through Trellis, we can continue to demonstrate that law firms can and should support women in all aspects of their lives and careers. I again thank Pitt Law for acknowledging me and Trellis with this award, so we can continue to share this ethos. Finally, my work with Trellis has helped me realize the impact that a small firm can have and that we as lawyers truly possess an amazing opportunity and awesome responsibility to serve the businesses, nonprofits, the people of Pittsburgh, and the rest of the Commonwealth and beyond. It is remarkable to see the vital role we play in opening businesses, building infrastructure, protecting rights, and empowering our clients. However, now we are in uncertain and dangerous times. It can be hard, especially as lawyers, to know what to do. We see some larger firms and institutions capitulate or be coerced to capitulate to bow to tyranny. Court verdicts go unheeded. We read about constitutional protections chipped away without basis, and we wonder about the future of law. What we do know, though, is that when larger systems fail or are stymied, we must act as defiant cities, communities, and local networks to support each other and stand up. We have the education and the opportunity to make a difference. There are so many talented attorneys, educators, judges in this room, as you can see, that have the ability and have impacted this community. And look at the other awardees. And it's so inspiring. Personally, I'm proud that I have a firm and a staff where we can provide free educational materials to lower the barrier to legal information, offer cost-effective services to those in the LGBTQ+ community as they worry about having safe spaces and ways to protect their rights, where we can help open and support the businesses owned by immigrants, represent therapists and wellness providers as they support those hurting right now, and be outspoken and stand strong in our beliefs. It can be daunting to identify what one person can do in such tumultuous times, but I'm using this platform to continue the call to action, to remind myself and my fellow attorneys to use the solemn power granted to us with our degrees, licenses, and socioeconomic standing to contribute to causes, to protect the rights enshrined by our Constitution and established law that we swore to uphold, to stand and be vocal and obvious in our resistance, and to support our community and the people in it. There is no act too small, and now is certainly the time to act. Thank you.
Well, here we are at the final award of the evening, and I think, Leland, Tony, you've done a great job mastering this evening. We're just a teeny tiny bit late. But I don't care. I still have a speech and I'm going to give it. And it is my high honor to present the inaugural honorary alumni award this evening to Third Circuit Judge D. Michael Fisher. Let's just stop right there. It is a particular pleasure for me to do so because my family and I have known Mike for many, many years and have supported his public service efforts. Judge Fisher has had an extraordinary career as an attorney, a legislator, and a judge. There are few who have come before him or who are likely to come after who have attained the depth and breadth of professional success as Judge Fisher has. Most would be satisfied to realize just one of his achievements, but Judge Fisher has met with great accomplishments in all three branches of government. He has served with great distinction as a member of the Pennsylvania legislative and executive branches, and now within the judicial branch of the federal government. To start at the beginning, Judge Fisher is a native Pittsburgher who somehow took a wrong turn and attended Georgetown University for his undergraduate and law degree. Hoya Saxon, Mike. After returning to Pittsburgh, he married the love of his life, Carol Hudock, and had two children, Michelle Lynn, who's here this evening, and Brett Michael. Mike began his legal career in Pittsburgh, practicing law and trying cases as an assistant district attorney, while also serving his country as a member of the Army National Guard. In short order, Mike was elected to the Pennsylvania House and then the Pennsylvania Senate, all the while practicing law and serving as a partner in several Pittsburgh firms. In 1996, he was elected Attorney General of Pennsylvania and re-elected in 2000. During his tenure as AG, Mike argued successfully before the United States Supreme Court combated illegal drugs, and participated in negotiating a tobacco industry settlement which netted Pennsylvania over $11 billion. In 2001, Mike threw his hat into the ring for governor and campaigned vigorously across the state. Once he chanced upon a less experienced campaigner, an exhausted Superior Court judicial candidate who was trying to stay awake at a turnpike rest stop. Without hesitation and true to his form as a dedicated public servant, the Attorney General jumped into her car and drove her the rest of the way home, while his security detail followed behind in his car. Thank you, Mike. Although he wasn't successful at his gubernatorial bid, he was immediately nominated to the United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit by President George W. Bush, where he was, if you can imagine this, unanimously confirmed by voice votes. At his installation, Governor Ed Rendell looked at now Judge Fisher and said, "I'm not sure who won and who lost." I think it is very clear that the citizens served by the Third Circuit were the winners. Judge Fisher's career has sparkled with accolades and service in numerous nonprofits, but it is his commitment to the University of Pittsburgh, and in particular, the School of Law, that brings us here today. Judge Fisher has been firmly committed to Pitt and Pitt Law for almost his entire career. He is a trustee emeritus of the university and has served on the Law School Board of Visitors since 1987. For the last 22 years, he taught classes on attorney generals as multi-state litigators, federal appellate advocacy, federal courts and federal jurisdiction, and federal habeas corpus. As the distinguished jurist in residence since 2017, I don't know, does that mean you sleep here? I don't know. Judge Fisher applies real-world legal knowledge in an academic setting to educate law students and help them develop practical skills. His dedication to Pitt Law is firmly rooted in his mentorship and guidance to the students under his pupillage. He advises the moot court board, coordinates interscholastic moot courts, hires Pitt Law students as interns, and takes his students to Washington, D.C. to observe the U.S. Supreme Court, a profound experience that many students view as the pinnacle of their legal education. In recognition of his distinguished service to the legal profession, commitment to justice, mentorship of the next generation of lawyers, dedication to an embodiment of the highest values and ideals of our law school, and genuine love of all things Pitt Law, we are delighted and honored to welcome Judge D. Michael Fisher as an honorary member of our alumni community. Congratulations, Judge Fisher. And hail to Pitt. Take pictures of.
Yeah. Well, what's to be said after that? I'm really not quite sure, but thank you, Mary Jane. And I thought you'd get that story in about me driving you back from Chambersburg. And that was a real life story that I told when I spoke at her induction to the Superior Court. And I was so proud to have done that. And I'm so proud to have followed your career on the Superior Court and what you've continued to do for your alma mater here at Pitt Law. You've been a tireless worker, and I congratulate you and all of the other honorees here this evening. What I can say is, well, I finally did it. And by that, I mean, except that I'm one of the few people in my family who's not a Pitt graduate. My father, a graduate of Pitt undergrad, and my beautiful wife, who's here with me, Carol, did her graduate work and got a master's degree at Pitt. And my beautiful daughter, Michelle,
who got her law degree right here at Pitt Law. Of course, I have to mention her husband, Alex, also a practicing attorney, but not a graduate here at Pitt Law, a graduate across the town, the other side of town. But that's okay, Alex. Thanks for being here with us tonight. But it really is an honor for me to finally to be able to say I have an honorary degree from this great law school. And when I think back, and Mary Jane gave such a great summary of many of the things that I have done, it was actually it was after the race in 2002, in the governor's race, that I knew, because I couldn't run again for Attorney General, had 2 more years, wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I was nominated in 2003 to the U.S. Court of Appeals. And I thought, my dad had been a law professor for many years at Duquesne. And I thought, I never thought of teaching before, but something tells me that, maybe I'll have some time, and hopefully the nomination was going to go through, but there was never any assurance just because you were nominated that you were going to get confirmed. I talked to my good friend, former Pitt Law Dean and former Chancellor at Pitt, Mark Nordenberg, and I said, I'm thinking maybe I ought to start teaching over at the law school. And he was the one who made things happen, and I was asked to teach, and I taught a course and then continued to teach in one fashion or another while I was on the court. And then Chip Carter asked me in 2016 or 17 if I was interested in maybe taking a bigger role here at the law school, and I served as distinguished jurist here since then. But Pitt Law has been a tremendous part of my judicial career over the past 23 years. I look out here and I see a lot of faces who I first got to know as students here at Pitt Law. Some of them, a number of them, who went on to become law clerks in my chambers. And even though they may not be here tonight, I see all those faces who were students of mine over the years, and some who became clerks of mine. And I see their great success. I see what they've been able to accomplish. And it makes me realize that not only how great Pitt Law is, but how important it is for those who were taught by others to be able to give back and help our young people in the field of legal education. And that's what I've tried to do. And, I look and I see some folks here tonight who, worked with me over the last couple of years, who were a little bit of turmoil here at the law school for a short period of time. And John and I got involved in that, but then we realized that we had to bring a new leader to Pitt Law. And John and Mary Jane, and nobody worked harder than Mary Jane as president of the Alumni Association, of marshaling support to get us a great new leader in Jerry. So we were able to do that, but I did it because I felt that this was a law school that didn't get the credit it deserved, not only across Pennsylvania, but elsewhere across the United States. And it should get more credit, but we could do so with a dedicated alumni association and great leadership. We've got the faculty, we've got the leader, we've got the alumni. Let's stick together and we continue to grow. And I'm very honored to have been brought into the umbrella of the Alumni Association of Pitt Law, and look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. Thank you very much. This says Mary Jane Bowes.
All right, that brings us to the end. I want to again congratulate all of our awardees. They are all highly deserving. Vince Bartolotta, Dan Brockett, Chris Ward, Marlene Van Nelson, Judge Bose, and Judge Fisher. Let's have one more round of applause for all of them. And then finally, we'd like to have a group picture with all the awardees up here, and then we'll head upstairs. So if all the awardees could come up for a moment. Maybe we stand right here.